Hacked cables of European Union diplomats reveal private conversations about Trump's behavior. The New York Times reports, so this is based on a New York Times story. Here's the New York Times headline. New York Times, hacked European cables reveal a world of anxiety about Trump, Russia, and Iran. Well, I hope they didn't print them. These are stolen, hacked emails. Or they call them cables.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, too.
Yeah.
They referred to them as cables.
Why would they refer to them as cables?
They sent some cables via Morse code, and it was intercepted.
Well, here's the story. Hackers have reportedly stolen a cache of sensitive European Union diplomatic cables that reveal detailed private conversations between European officials about everything from President Donald Trump to Russian aggression and other major international issues. I hope it wasn't about the U.S. aggression. Remember when Russia went in and invaded Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya? Remember that? Remember when they did that? Remember when they started bombing in the Sudan? The New York Times, which was given access to more than 1,100 of the cables. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that exactly what people are upset about Julian Assange doing? That he
Yes, I'm sitting here right now. That's what I'm thinking. How is this different?
How did New York Times get the access?
Well, they were given access by the company. Let's get into it, and then
Okay.
they selected a number of them. So the New York Times, which was given access to more than 1,100 of them, has made a select number of them publicly available. So not only are they reading them, they're publicly printing them. Reports that in one batch, European diplomats described Trump's July summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki as successful, at least for Putin. They are voxing very hard. During the summit, Trump seemed to side with Putin over his own intelligence agencies over whether or not Russia interfered in the 2016 presidential election, and even bragged that... let me just switch a few words there and see what you think. During that summit, President Bush seemed to side with foreign intelligence over his own intelligence agencies over whether or not Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Oh, a little different now. Because that's what George Bush should have did. He should have went against his intelligence agencies because they were cherry-picking information. So the president is the president is the leader of the intelligence community, not anybody else. So that's why this is, again, they do this again. The intelligence agencies are paid liars who kill, murder, and overthrow democratically elected governments before breakfast. That's the intelligence agencies. They talk about them like they're Boy Scouts. Or they're guys who put together the encyclopedia. They're paid spooks, liars, killers, spies, double agents. What are you doing? They keep saying this. This drives me nuts. The cables also reveal a discussion in July 2018 between East European Union officials and Chinese President Xi Jinping, where the Chinese leader referred to Trump's tactics on trade, bullying, and a no-rules freestyle boxing match. File that under who gives a shit. What is worrisome, this is according to Vox. They say what is worrisome, however, is the fact that a European Union system was hacked at all. And that it's just being confirmed now. Area 1, the company that detected the breach. So I don't know who this Area 1 is. We're always hearing of these new companies, like we just heard about the New Knowledge Company that's been writing these reports that said Russia is controlling African Americans' brains and everything. And then you look into who they are. They're a bunch of ex-government flacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know who is Area 1. So Area 1, the company that detected the breach, said that this hacking campaign dates back to 2015. according to the Financial Times. Area 1 released a report on its findings Wednesday, where it concluded hackers accessed to the European Union system through a phishing attack. A phishing attack. A phishing attack. That means whoever was on the other end at the European Union's computers pretty much did this themselves, like idiots.
All right, which leader did it? Who did it? Who?
A phishing attack where hackers mimic a legitimate website in an attempt to get users to give up their passwords.
Who thought somebody needed their AOL screen name password? Who fell for it? Who fell for it?
On the network of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Cyprus. People talk, well, so listen to this. I like this. People talk about sophisticated hackers, but there was nothing really sophisticated about this, said Oren Falkowitz, the chief executive of Area 1. Nothing. There was nothing sophisticated. They did a simple phishing thing. And they got somebody to turn over their passwords and username. Isn't that hilarious? I think it is. After getting into the Cyprus system, the hackers had access to passwords that were needed to connect to the European Union's entire database of exchanges. So there you go. That's how they did it. The vulnerabilities in the European Union system are particularly troubling, especially as countries... You ready for this? What? This is how Vox ends it. This is how Vox is harder than ever. Here they are, Voxing. The vulnerabilities in the European Union system are particularly troubling, especially as countries such as Russia, North Korea, China, and Iran are increasingly using cyber warfare as part of their arsenals. Just those countries? They're the only ones? We already reported at the show the United States has been ramping up a huge same thing since 2011. They've been doing cyber warfare like crazy. But just those countries. Just turns out just the ones that the CIA wants to overthrow or invade or do something. Isn't that hilarious? Russia, North Korea, those are the people you're supposed to not like in the world. These are all bad people. That's just mind-blowing to me. Get this. So here's how the New York Times, listen to how they do it. So we showed you before how they're now, the military-industrial complex is now pivoting from Russia to China. And watch how the New York Times goes right along. The techniques that the hackers deployed over a 3-year period resemble those long used by an elite unit of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. The technique? You mean a phishing fucking technique? It looks just like the ones that the Chinese People's Liberation Army did. And no one else. So they have a unique. Was it unique, or is it a phishing thing that everyone? You can't trust the New York Times is the problem here. Because they don't say unique to the Chinese People's Liberation Army. Or this is a common phishing technique, hacking technique that lots of people use. Also, they use it too. They don't make this clear.
It resembles something that they used to do. It also resembles something your friends would do to prank you in a chat room in the year 1998.
So that could
also resembles that.
So that could be also the truth. So the cables were copied from the secure network and posted to an open internet site that the hackers set up in the course of their attack, according to Area 1, the firm that discovered the breach. Now, here's the last thing I'll read to you about from the story, but it says Area 1 made more than 1,100 cables of the hacked European Union cables available to the New York Times. So people are admitting they're stolen. They were gotten illegally, and then they gave them to the New York Times, and the New York Times prints them, and that's okay, which it is okay. But that's exactly what they're trying to kill Julian Assange for right now. That's exactly the same thing. Someone gave them cables, and they printed them.
Well, is that because Oren Falkowitz, the co-founder and CEO of Area 1 Security, previously Falkowitz held Senior positions at the National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command, where he focused on computer network operations and big data. Is that why it's all okay?
I don't.
Because he's a part.
Oh, he was the chief executive of Area 1?
Yes.
That's who the guy is you're telling me about right now?
Yeah, and he held senior positions at the
Oh,
National
okay.
Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command.
Okay.
So would this be in a way like a government official giving information to the New York Times?
So, isn't that interesting? Well, so there you have it.
And he's a Silicon Valley
Of
company.
course.
FYI.
Oh, really?
Yes. Let me see. I think they're located. Yeah, I think that's what I just read.
So why isn't he under? Why isn't he going to be prosecuted by the CIA for getting the hacked, the stolen stuff and printing? I mean,
Why is he excused? Why are the
Why
rules
are-
so
why-
fuzzy when it comes to Julian Assange? But coming for
Right.
this company, Area 1.
so and it doesn't even matter that those cables were stolen. They admit that they were stolen and hacked. And everyone knows that it's perfectly okay for news organizations to print that stuff. So, again, it feels uncomfortable living in a country where almost every major journalist is full of shit when it comes to Julian Assange. Like, when I mean full of shit, I don't mean like they get it wrong. And if they're getting it wrong, oh my God. But they know better. They know what Julian Assange did was you're supposed to do. They know that. That's the weird part. That's what makes me uncomfortable. It's not when someone has, I don't mind honest disagreements. I don't mind a right-winger saying we have to have a border wall and we have to get rid of Social Security, if they really believe it. Because you could at least talk to that. But when journalists pretend that Julian Assange is doing something outside of the boundaries of journalism and that he needs to be punished for it, well, game's over. Game's over. That's why nobody did film Randy Credico when he stood up in a room full of journalists and screamed about Julian Assange at an award ceremony for journalists. That's why nobody even took their cell phone out and filmed it. That's why there's no film of that. Got handcuffed and thrown out of there because they don't give a shit. That's not what this is about. Life is short, and they're trying to grab as much fame and cash as they can. And so when people try, and then they try to pretend that the threat to journalism is Trump tweeting mean things about them. So, no, the threat to journalism is journalists ignoring Julian Assange's plight right now. And for that matter, Chelsea Manning, when she was tortured for revealing war crimes, and Edward Snowden. So those are the journalists, and those are the real whistleblowers. Not anybody at Vox or the New York Times. If you're a whistleblower at the New York Times, they fire you. Just like if you're a whistleblower at MSNBC, they fire you. Look what happened at CNN most recently. They just fired that guy, Mark Lamont Hill, for telling the truth about Israel in another venue. MSNBC fired Phil Donahue, Jesse Ventura for telling the truth about the Iraq War. You think they'd want them on every day? These guys got the Iraq War right. They don't want them on. You know they want on? The guys who got the Iraq War wrong. That's who they want on. And then you wonder why people get their news from YouTube. People come here because they can trust that I'm being honest. Because there is nothing in it for me to lie about this shit. Nothing in it for me to lie about this stuff. No one's paying me to lie. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is February 1st in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a list of all our live shows, and please become a premium member if you can. Become a patron. It's the way we support this show because they're coming at us, and we give you bonus. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Check it out. Become a patron. And if you can, make sure you're still subscribed. They unsubscribe people every day. I know it sounds crazy. It only takes a second. Please make sure and click that bell when you subscribe so they'll send you a notice when we drop a video. Thanks for your support.